presentation is entitled How to Think on Your Feet and Respond to Shifts in the Conversation. Our speaker is a returning guest to Collector Live and also serves as Director of Training for well-known collection firm Williams & Fudd. The stage, Greg Ruffino.
Thanks so much, Harry. We appreciate that great intro. Mike and everyone else with Collector Live. It's so awesome. And I love that we're here in Nashville, Tennessee, because I got an opportunity yesterday to buy my first ever pair of cowboy boots. And so today, you're watching me live learning how to walk in my cowboy boots while also thinking and standing on my feet to deliver this speech. So I love this topic, and I'm happy that I was chosen for it, because I like to believe that this is something I don't just preach, but I practice as to what I'm going to talk and demonstrate for you here eventually on this topic. But before I get into that, I want to start from the beginning of who is a collector? Who does a collector need to be? What kind of skill sets and attributes make for a successful long-term collector? One of the things I love about this industry is that it's not per se just a whitewashed diploma that gets you into the door. In fact, as we all know, you probably didn't need a diploma to get your job in collections, right? It kind of fits a lot of us misfits randomly finding our way into this profession. But when we do interviewing and onboarding and trying to find our candidates at our agency, I bet it's somewhat similar to how your agencies work out there, where you source people, you get an application, a resume of some sort. And there's only so much you can go off of in that resume. You read through the lines, you see maybe some past work and whatnot, but that only tells you a tiny piece of that individual. So whether you're doing full-on interviews from there or some kind of a network event, as an example, my agency, we like to do networking events. But before we bring you in for a full-on interview, we might have a big group or pocket of people. Prior to COVID, we definitely would do this in person, but now a lot of these are done on Zoom, which makes what I'm trying to get to even more important. And we have people come to us and they ask all kinds of questions like, what kind of work experience do I need to have? Do I need to have prior work experience in collections to get this job? And the answer is flat out no, absolutely not. And in fact, more often than not, I'd rather you don't have any experience. Then they might ask something to the effect of, how tech savvy do I need to be? Do I really need to know computers like the back of my hand? Do I need to be really quick at typing? Do I need to know how to work all these software programs and things like that? And my answer to them is absolutely not. If you have some of those skills, that's great. It's not going to be the factor that gets you in the door here. So a lot of people then go into asking, like, well, do I need to be an expert in what we're collecting? If you're doing medical debt, do I need to know a lot about medical procedures and how billing and all that stuff works? Or higher education, how does all that work? And my answer is that would be good, but it's absolutely not necessary. There's one skill set attribute alone that we are looking for, that your agency was probably looking for. And if you want to take a guess at it, it's quite simply to be a conversationalist. That is it. I don't care what your past job was. I don't care where you went to school. I don't care if you're like Kelly and got Fs. Whatever the case is, just be a conversationalist. That is the number one thing I'm looking for. So when we do these network events per se, we tell them off the bat, this is not your official interview. If you pass this litmus test, we'll bring you back for the full-on get to know each other. But right now, I want you to consider this a part of your interview. And all I'm looking for tonight is, who's engaging with me? Who's asking questions? Who's answering the questions? And quite frankly, I don't care what your answer is. I don't even care what you ask. The very fact that you are willing to take on that conversation tells me you just hit the first attribute that might get you in this door. And you might be successful long-term in this career as a collector because you are proving that you can be a conversationalist. So by definition, some of the ones I came across says a conversationalist is either really good at or really fond at engaging in conversation. So you can be good at engaging in conversation, or you can be fond of engaging in conversation. And over here, here's a great example. I was hoping this would happen. Someone's phone's ringing and it's okay. Michael Frost, just messing with you. But I got to think on my feet. Oh, it was Ken Peck. So Ken Peck's throwing me off, but it's okay because guess what? I'm prepared for that, right? I'll get to that later. I was prepared for something, Ken. I'm glad you set the example. You just got to keep moving. You got to keep going. So, on my feet, in my cowboy boots, back to where I was at. Conversationalists, you're either good at or you're fond of engaging in conversation. So a lot of us, just by nature, it's who we are, it's what we are, we can talk. And maybe that's not you. coming into the world of collections. Maybe you're just not naturally good at it, but that's okay. There's a bunch of trainers in this room. We can teach you how to be good at it. Or maybe you're not good at it yet, but you're really fond. You want to be good at it. You're fond of talking to people, getting to know them, but you're just the awkward person in the corner right now trying to figure out how to ask a basic question. All we need is for you to be one of those two, either already good at it or you're fond of it and you're trying to seek out how to be good at it. All right, this is a person who is articulate with their words. They choose their words carefully, and they're able to do that, as Kelly just said, is because we are active listeners. 80% of the time, I should be listening. So when I do open my mouth, that 20%, I'm using really good articulate word choices that match the situation that we're talking with. All right, so a conversationalist is also super important in our line of work, is to be very open-minded with their conversation partner. It's too often in our industry where we're just waiting for that person to tell us, I can't pay, I won't pay, life situation's bad, and we're like, yep, heard that 27,000 times today, and I was ready for you to say that to me again. It's committing to having an open mind with that person. They're an individual, their situation is not the same as someone else's, and I've never walked in their shoes. So I will be open-minded with my conversation partner today. And all these things are going to help me be a great conversationalist. I'm good or fond of talking to you. I'm listening to you. I'm going to choose my words and articulate them very carefully, and I'm going to keep my mind wide open to you. So I tell my collection staff all the time, it's perfectly cool. It is okay if you are an introvert. I could care less. When you clock out, when you go home, if you don't want to talk to anyone, you want to be by yourself, great. You do you. That means nothing to me. Be whatever makes you happy and comfortable. However, when you clock in and it's time to do the job and you want or you think or you're trying to be successful at this, put your introvert side away, become an extrovert, and engage in being a conversationalist. So here's how I kind of paint the picture for the individuals I talk to and try to train. Imagine you get into conversation with this consumer. And in a perfect world, right, we're the ones that are in control of the conversation. We're driving the conversation. So here we are now. I just got into the car. I'm driving, and I picked you up. You're my consumer, and you're sitting in my front seat. We're going to get on the highway. We're going to go for a drive. That's our conversation. In a perfect world, I have a few exits down the highway. That equals resolution or payment, and we're going to talk, and hopefully it's very smooth. And when we get to that point of processing your payment or coming up with a great ultimate resolution, I'm going to say, here's our exit, ma'am. Sir, thanks for a great ride. Have a great day. But we all know that we are only in so much control, we can't always make that happen. So I'm going to have all different kinds of people in that car with me, and they're going to force me to shift how I speak. They're going to force me to shift how I think. My goal is to avoid the speed bumps, your life problems, your hiccups, your illnesses, the natural disasters, all these things that happen, the unemployments. My goal is to avoid the speed traps, the guy baiting me. I think we'll hear a little bit more about that later. The guy trying to tick me off and say all the mean, nasty things to me. He's trying to get me to fall into a speed trap. The person that just wants to get off at every single exit, take a time out, not talk about money, not talk about resolution. They want me to get off the highway. It's my job to figure out how do I get this conversation back on track. It's my job to steer this conversation no matter what they say to me, right? The different shifts, the different angles these things take. So before I even get into the things that we should say, let's go to the topic of this is how do you think on your feet? Okay, before I even get into these words. And you'll see here behind me a couple of different things here. Different ways we can sit. When I very first started behind the desk, regular desk collections, 11 years ago, imagine this cord being about 4 or 5 feet longer, and we can all attest that we're tied in, we're dialed in, we're tethered in, we're handcuffed. When I told my friend 11 or so years ago that I was in debt collection now, he basically said to me, so are you tethered to the desk? I said, huh? Wait, what do you mean? Are you sitting at a desk all day? I said, oh, yeah, I am. And he goes, are you tethered to it? And I said, what? And it took me a minute to realize that my headset was plugged into my computer and I had 5 or 6 feet of freedom and leeway. And as soon as he put that seed in my head, I really didn't like it. That made me feel trapped, made me feel handcuffed to my desk. So from that moment, early on, I started slowly to think about how do I become untethered? How can I move? How can I shift? Because right now, and in the last 10, 11 years, in my involvement in either walking in the office or seeing people these days on Zoom, they're in a regular desk chair, right? And we've all seen it. And as the day goes on, they're slouching, 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 and it just gets real easy. And I see people with 3 blankets wrapped around them, their heating pads on, their foot massagers on, all kinds of things going on where they're just so comfortable. And if our job was to literally take inbound calls only with people who are ready to pay, that might be an okay thing for you to do because it's pretty simple, right? But we all know that our consumers throw all kinds of crazy stuff at us, and I need to be able to think on my feet. So being like this all day, sedentary position, is mentally getting me lazy, it's getting me sluggish, and it's not being my best self. My blood's not flowing right, my muscles are getting stiff, my mind's elsewhere, and the day seems to go a lot longer. So one of the things I've adapted to, I'm not reinventing the wheel here, is sometimes when the consumer speaks to you, get up. Literally, stand up, fix your back, get your body language right. Or maybe you can start with one of these things. It's real simple, yoga ball, exercise ball, whatever you want to call it. And I use this all the time in my office. People laugh at me. They think I'm weird. They think I'm silly. And I'll go, you're silly, you're weird for not using it. So 9, 10 years ago, I started using these things. And I start working like this, and I'm typing, and I'm talking, and I'm kind of having fun. And I don't mind when that person says something weird to me, I go, let's talk. I'm ready to meet you head on right now. As opposed to, oh, the guy said something mean to me again. They can't pay. They're unemployed. Okay. I'm not engaged. So I want to have a desk that is versatile. Our conversations need to be versatile, right? It's not the same conversation. It's not the same person. It's not the same situation. To us it might be, but to them it is unique. So I need to be at my best self, my best style of conversationalist. I highly recommend an exercise or a yoga ball. The people that I've come across that at first laughed at me for it, made fun of or thought it was funny or weird, a couple weeks or months later, I see them actually go and try it. I've never once had someone come to me and say, you know what, that was a terrible idea. I'm glad you showed me that because my day is so much better now. It's so much quicker. I'm able to stand up more. I'm able to move around more. Even a stool, right? Nothing wrong with the stool. Especially now when I'm thinking about all you at home working. It is so much easier now than ever to be so comfortable and convenient at our house. I hate to imagine that right now there's collectors doing the job, laying on their couch, wrapped in blankets with the soap opera on in the background, and actually doing the job. The collector, or the consumer probably has no idea. Maybe other than their tone of voice or how they're speaking. But especially right now, at home, you have the power to make an awesome workstation. I don't want to speak for all the agency owners out there, the managers who are in charge of budgets, but I also advocate for Bluetooth headsets. They cost a couple bucks. Again, maybe you want to invest in this in yourself. I'm not here to rattle off statistics, folks, but I've read plenty of articles talking about how detrimental it is to our health for sitting down all day long. It makes us lazy, it makes us lackadaisical, my blood doesn't flow right, my muscles aren't moving, and by the end of the day, I'm stiff and sore from sitting all day, and I'm not my best version of myself. I've seen articles referencing sitting all day to equate to a certain number of cigarettes being smoked in a day. And you read stuff like that, it shouldn't take you long to realize that in a profession, you got to stand up, you got to get up, and you got to move. It's going to make me a better conversationalist. It's going to allow me to engage. So I'm going to work on my body language as well. When I get to that point in that weird conversation, I can stand up. I'm going to open my body up. I'm going to make myself big. I'm going to let myself move around and pace around. At this point in the conversation, I should know everything on file. I don't need to read these notes anymore. It's just me and LaDonna duking it out, going back and forth. But it's me being allowed to have freedom of movement, better for my body, and it's better for my mind. So whether it's in your office right now, you getting creative with your managers and figuring out what you can best do, or you at home especially saying, it's great to be comfortable and convenient at the house, but am I too comfortable? What can I do to make for a versatile workstation, different chairs, different stand-up stations, Bluetooth headsets, and the whole nine? All right. When we get into actual words and what things you can actually say, keep it simple for yourself. A lot of these statements that we get, the mean stuff, the I can't pay stuff, even though it's individual to that person in that moment, we have heard that before. Where is your list of common stalls and objections, and how do you respond? Where is your list of the weird stuff that we hear based on our clientele or based on the paper that we collect? Get with your managers if this doesn't already exist. Get with your other collection staff if this doesn't exist. Start to create your own. hanging on the walls next to you, and don't ever be surprised. Unless you've been doing this job for less than a month, you still might have weird things that come your way and go, oh my God, I can't believe they said that. But if you've been in this job longer than a month or 3 months, you've probably heard 90% of the crazy stuff that we hear. So I'm never surprised, but I am prepared, and I've got my list created, and I'm ready to go, okay? And the last thing I'll get down into is when I do respond in shifts in this conversation, it's all about who am I speaking with. I'm going to respond to that individual, not so much the exact thing that they might have said. What does this person need me to be? Who do I need to be for this person? So I kind of break it down into 3 very general, simple categories of who this person might be. And I'm also going to remember that I was told this early on, and I'm thankful that I believed in it. What we do is a business transaction. It should not be an emotional experience, for us at least. It might be for you, the consumer, but it shouldn't be for us. This is business professionalism. So I might have a somewhat friendly consumer that has the life circumstance: unemployment, illness, natural disaster. Okay, I can deal with you. And they start making comments that are not towards resolution, and it's making me shift. I could have the unmotivated, the lazy, the simple, I don't care kind of person. Or I could have the mean and the derogatory type person, saying mean things to me, trying to push my buttons, trying to get under my skin. Well, at the end of the day, my 3 takeaways to deal with these kind of people are: 1, I'm going to expect you to say something. I'm going to expect some sort of weird curveball statement that makes me stand up, readjust my body language, readjust my line of thinking, take my breaths, and then I'm going to know my framework. For all 3 of these people, my framework is, I'm going to validate what you say. I'm going to acknowledge it. I'm going to restate what the problem might be. I'm then going to focus on what the solution for that is. Here's what I can do for you. Here's what we can do for you. Here's how I propose what the solution is. And then I'm going to give them the benefit. The benefit for us going down the solution is, here's how it's going to help you out. Here's how it's going to make your day, your life better. So it's not me having a cognitive overload by trying to think about all these things at once. What am I supposed to do? Where's my list? Am I standing up? Am I walking? Am I on a stool? Who am I speaking with? What am I supposed to say? All these things. It's one thing at a time. Shifting the conversation for me says, I need to buy myself a few moments. So I make a statement. Ma'am, that's a great question. Thank you for making me aware of that. Let me take a quick look at your file so I can give you the answer that you're looking for. Something to that effect where I'm buying myself some time. Standing up, adjusting myself, focus on my breath, look at my list. I was listening the whole time, so let me reiterate the problem, let me propose my solution, and let me tell you what my benefit of that is. So at the end of the day, practice it. I guarantee it's going to make you a better collector, it's going to make you better a business operator, and you're going to be healthier for it at the end of the day. Especially those of you working at home, just because we can't see anymore, I know who's under the blankets and who's not. So stand up, think on your feet, and best luck to everyone out there. Take care.